Welcome to this edition of the Erica Edwards Show here on Business Takeout. And today I have an amazing guest, and he's going to explain a bit about who he is and what he does. But this is Mr. KOA, the King of Arts, Ryan. Ryan, thank you for joining us. I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. It's been amazing. A pleasure to be part of this. I've done many different interviews, and I try to make sure they're all kind of different. You know, my story itself is pretty streamlined of how I, got to where I am, but based on the questions and interactions and the people, I think it's always a different experience. I really enjoy just, even if I can shed, one gem that helps somebody, that's cool with me.
Well, I know that you will be able to share many gems because you have many. So let's start at the beginning, because like I said, usually I don't have so many questions for my guests. They kind of come as they go, but watching some previous interviews with you and seeing some of your work, which I've posted on my social media, guys, so you got to take a look at some of his IG videos. It does lead me to so many questions. So King of Arts, that is very big. And even in writing the description for the show, I struggled with what to name you, because I was introduced to you as a photographer. But then when I started looking through your site, and I really recommend you guys go check out his site. What is it? Tell them where to go.
MR.KOA.com, 5 letters, MR.KOA.
Okay. And when you go to the site, you will see the level of the work, and immediately you are so engaged. So first of all, that's what I was going to ask you. Who are you first? What is your primary love? Because you wear several hats. So who are you first?
A friend. A friend. I always anytime I'm being interviewed or someone ask somebody else a question, most people always lead with, when someone asks someone who are you, or to describe yourself, almost everyone leads with their job or what they do, which is not who you are. It's what you do for a career. So I'm a friend first. I'm a big brother of 6 siblings. I'm a son, mentor. There's a lot of different things that I would label myself as a person. What I do is a completely different list of things. But I'd say I'm a friend first, and friend to people I know and people I don't know. I'm the first person to give a homeless person money or help someone out, or, someone messaged me and asked me for advice that I don't know, and I respond. Like, that's me. I don't necessarily need to know you to provide some type of assistance. So that's how I describe myself first, and then everything else kind of trails behind.
That is beautiful and wonderful. And that is a realization I came to recently myself. A friend actually, had just randomly asked the question, who are you? And I mean, I think that the answer, like you said, immediately sometimes there's a defensiveness, like who's asking. But what I realize is that most people answer with what they do, what their job is, or even their station, like I'm a mom, I'm a this, but who are you? That was a great answer. So professionally now, when someone says, what is your job, or what does your company do? What do you answer?
Simply put, I create visually appealing things for brands, whether it's, photos, videos, whether it's helping them with their, interviews or speeches or branding, giving them some type of guidance or path. I create visually appealing things. That's kind of the easiest way I can do it. And then it kind of stems from there. What type of things you're looking for, then I can kind of have a conversation with you at that point. But the King of Arts brand is it's known for creating visually appealing things. I do clothing, I do quotes, I sketch sometime, I do graphic design, I shoot photography, I do videos, I do weddings, I do branding, client work, celebrity work, sports, paint, prints. Those behind me are my work. Yeah. So.
Wow. So you specialize in eye candy. So what is your primary love? Is there any segment of this you enjoy more than others, or is it all very different for you? What do you love? Which aspect of
That's always a tough question when people ask me that, because I honestly, like, I answer the same way every time, but I honestly approach every shoot or everything I do as an individual entity. Like, I enjoy weddings when I'm in them, and I enjoy, you know, branding for people. I enjoy traveling and shooting for celebrities. I also enjoy, you know, low key stuff and helping a small business. Like, I don't, I really, it's like, it's honestly like asking a parent to pick their favorite kid. Like that's
okay,
that,
so it's either something you're not sure of or something you don't want to state publicly.
right, right.
Okay.
But yeah, like
So
yeah, everything, I gain something different from every experience and every, you know, facet that I do. So to honestly pick a favorite, and I'm someone, I constantly like change and variety. So even if I picked a favorite, it might be my favorite for this month, and then next month I want to do documentary stuff, and then next month I'm like, okay, I'm done with the doc stuff. I want to, like, I'm a product of change, and I think that's kind of how my brand continue to grow, because I don't get comfortable in any one thing, and that's really been the testament of my story, to be honest.
So instead of asking you really how you got started, because if they go on your site, you can find information about that. What interests me more, because you seem so very passionate about what you do and you love it. You know, you're one of those human beings that I think hit the jackpot and is doing what they love and is good at and making money at it, which is like playing a joke on the world, right? Because your job is something that you love.
It's funny you say that, because I actually was saying to my girlfriend, I was like, I feel like it's been 2 years now since I quit my job, and I've done some crazy things, and I'm like, sometimes I feel like I've fooled the world. Like,
Yeah, you
like I'm
cheat,
just like,
right? Yeah,
it
it's like a
literally,
big
like, I
joke.
wake up and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, yeah,
That's crazy. Yes.
yeah,
And that is the best way to live. Like, if you can earn money doing the thing that you would do for free anyways, that wakes you up, it is like playing the
yeah,
biggest joke on the world, because you would have done it anyways, right?
exactly.
So instead of asking you how you got started, because I think there was a fire in you that had to expand, but what has kept you in this past the challenges? Like, there has had to be challenges. So has there been
100%,
a time? Every
100%.
client could be a challenge, right? But has there been a time where you were like, this is it, I'm done? What keeps you here? What keeps you going?
I've never got to a point where I said I'm done, because
Okay.
I am. I mean, you know, my website has some stuff of my story, but obviously it's so elaborate, I couldn't even put it on a website. That's why I want to write a book eventually. But I'm a product of separated parents, so I've experienced living with both sides. You know, dealing with custody and dealing with, you know, low income housing and different stuff when I was growing up. I've seen quite a bit of things. I've lived in a shelter for a little bit with my mom when I was younger, and I've seen so much that, like, and I'm the oldest brother. I'm the big brother, so like I had to do everything first, always graduate first, school first, everything. So I don't actually have any type of alternative in my brain. Like, I just feel like I continually have to be that person to lead. I was put in this responsibility to be there for my siblings and the people that look up to me, and I don't have an alternative. I'm just like, if I quit, then what? Like, then what? Like, there is no let me
There is
quit.
no alternative.
Yeah, I
There's nothing
don't, and it's not even a feeling of like trapped. Like, I don't feel pressure about it. It's just, this is now my reality, where I'm like, I don't actually view quitting as an option. It's just kind of like, okay, get through this. And I think because I've proven myself time and time again that I can get through things, anything that happens just is like, okay, just, it's another one. Like, this is you've done this differently, but before. So I think it's more difficult when people never really face adversity growing up or at all. That where when it first happens, it's a shock. It's a culture shock. It's a, you know, with the world's crashing down, I never dealt with, like, you know what I mean? To me, it's kind of like, okay, this is, in
another
most
day.
cases, most cases I've seen worse, to be honest. It's like when things happen, I'm like, you dealt with worse. Like, come on, you know? So all perspective, to be honest. And I think that's kind of what's propelled me. And on a more specific term, leaving my full-time job, working in accounting and billing and hating it. Yeah, I hated it. I was good at it. I was very good at it, but I hated it. But I put my time in. I put my 3.5 years in after school, and you know, getting to a point where I could leave and do what I love now. I'm just like, I would 100% rather be broke doing what I'm doing than go back to work.
Amen.
You know what I mean? So
Amen. I completely understand that. And there is something very soul killing about getting up every day to do something that you don't want to do. Yeah. And so again, that contrast of not even, I mean, you didn't even like have a job you didn't like and then got a better job. You went from, I don't like this to this is my fantasy. So I could see why you continue to push, because like you said, what's the alternative, right? Go back to working for someone else and doing it by their rules. So in terms of your brand, and you know, it's interesting because before we started talking, one of the things you said was you're not really, you like to answer, you'll answer questions about yourself, but you're not one that will sit there and just talk about yourself. And something I've noticed between the doers and the talkers is the doers tend not to talk as much as the talkers, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna toot your horn, and I'm gonna lay it out, and I'm gonna name drop. Okay, I'm gonna do the name dropping for you. Okay. So one of the things, as I'm looking through this man's site, you know, I love the graphics, I love the feeling, and I want to talk about branding after. And that's one of the things I said in the title of the video, is that I think that there are a lot of people, businesses that are very lost with the concept of branding. But before we go there, let me do the name dropping. So clicking through the site, clicking on all the links, and then we come to his client list. And on this man's client list, we have Air Canada, Canadian Tire, CFL, Corona, Foot Locker Canada, Google, Historia Canada, Interact, Jordan Brand, Marcus Stroman, the NFL, Nike, Reebok, TD Canada, the Toronto Raptors, TSN, and I did not read them all. So what I need to know, with the people who are watching this through Business Takeout want to know is, how did you hook that up? What did you do to position yourself to work with industry giants? How did that happen?
Honestly, like, everything is a process of another process. And I have an unwavering ability to create business relationships with people. And I never treat any situation like it's, you know, better or worse than another one. You know, if I meet someone who's a celebrity, I'll treat them just as much as I meet, you know, someone in a meeting that is telling me about a project. Like I'll never give someone more or less of me. I'll never, you know, ask less questions because they're not more popular. I'm the same way all the time, the same personality all the time. And honestly, I've bumped some people who you would never think are certain people. And just because I treated them a certain way, they told my name and spread my name to somebody. And, you know, the KOA brand, like, I can easily attest 99% of my brand is people spreading my name. I can't even say like I'm this amazing person that went all over the place. Like I work hard, I meet people, I give everyone the same type of energy, and I wake up and there's an email from this person and this client, and you know, someone's like, oh, I want you to book you to shoot this event here. I want to fly you out to do this. Or I heard your name. Like, I literally woke up at those times, still now, but when I was kind of growing, I would literally wake up to an email from, you know, Nike Toronto wanted to shoot something, or I'd get a free box of shoes because someone wanted me to to wear it because they saw me somewhere and knew I had a basketball background. Or, you know, I shoot an event for, I shot an event for a friend of mine who was a teacher, and he ended up, you know, having Marcus Stroman as a guest because Marcus Stroman was friends of Boy Wonder, which is Drake's producer. And me shooting that interaction, I was shooting for the school for my friend, but me shooting it, Marcus and his agents like, oh, like, we're looking for someone to do some stuff for us. Like, I love your work. Like, here's my agent's phone number. Talk to her. Okay. And then now I'm flying to Marcus Stroman's house in Tampa, and he's flying me out to Cleveland for MLB Major League Baseball All-Star Weekend on a private jet. I can't make that up. Like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it literally, it's just, it's a process of a process, and I honestly, I can't take all the credit for it, because I am just myself, and, you know, I happen to, I guess, radiate a certain energy that people like to talk about, and that's really what's kind of propelled me, to be honest, to be entirely honest. Like, yeah.
I think that's amazing. And you know, one of the things I strive to do on this show with Business Takeout is give other business people, aspiring entrepreneurs, people who are actually entrepreneurs, information from those who are getting it done. Because you had said something in an interview that, you know, it's all well and good to talk to people who are talking about ideas, but you want to talk to the people who are doing it. And, you know, that's exactly why we wanted you on today. And what you just said, and, you know, for those out there watching, I hope you took from that I dropped names. I dropped two major shoe companies. The Toronto Raptors are one of our biggest banks. These are the names that he's working with. And when asked how, it's energy. So those that are out there, they're spending tons on PR and Facebook ads and stuff like that. I think you got to get back to basics and make sure that the product that you're delivering is 100% and is really from your heart. Am I right? Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've said this many times. People might, like, maybe now at the level I'm at now, and people see my stuff and they're like, what are you talking about, blah, blah. But I can humbly and honestly tell myself, like, I by no means am the best photographer in Toronto, the best photographer in Canada, best whatever. I'm good at what I do, very good at what I do. But I'm not growing as a business and as an entrepreneur because of how good my work is. It's how I treat people and building relationships. Like, I'm well aware there's better photographers than me, and I'm fine with that. My goal is not to be the best photographer in the city. That's not my goal. My goal is to grow a business and build relationships with people. And if I happen to be great at what I do as well, then perfect. And that's all obviously helped me. But striving to be the best photographer or the best at a skill, you end up losing out on the aspects of creating a business and business relationships. And I think the biggest difference between me and I can really say every other photographer in the city, that reason my company has accelerated the way it has is because I was a business person before all this. Like, I wasn't a photographer up until the last 4 years, right? Like, I was a basketball player that got injured, and my dream was to go play Europe and NBA. Like, photography, and this was not even a thought. So I was going to school for business and I was playing basketball. That's what I knew. And when basketball was taken away from me, all my skills went focused into the business side of me, which I already had. And I could have done anything. I could have been a cook, and I would be, you know, I'd have a crazy cooking business the exact same way, because the process is still the same. It just happened to be photography. It didn't have to be this. You know what I'm saying? I'm using photography and videos and visual stuff as a tool, but I'm a business person first that can create things. You know, so the difference is I'm running stuff the way I do it, like a business. Photographers don't know how to run a business. They don't know how to draft the email, how to draft the report, how to budget, they don't know how to do any of that stuff. Just take pictures. I already knew how to do all that stuff. So now you give me a tool, I can pick up a skill and learn that. It's a lot faster for me to pick up a camera and learn what you do than for you to learn my entire skill set and background in the business. Like, way faster. You know what I mean? So
then, you know, and I see this a lot, especially in the artistic fields. I mean, I feel that being an entrepreneur in and of itself, whatever you're doing, is an art. It is artistic. But the artists that I know, be it visual arts, painters, I know some painters, I know some sculptors, some photographers, and what they've all really struggled with is that they just wanted to take pictures. They hated the business end of it. They didn't like asking people for money for their stuff, even though they wanted to eat. They just wanted to paint. And I feel that, and anybody out there that can relate to that, whether you're a crafter or you're a photographer, whatever it is your business, if you feel that that business part is missing, the recommendation that I have is go out there and get that help. Because you need someone like that on your team. If you don't have the desire or the time to amass those skills, they are necessary to run a business. So unless you want to paint pretty pictures and give them away, you have to learn the business end of business.
Yeah, and that's essentially why I guess over the quarantine, sitting with myself and kind of reviewing everything I've done so far, and I really have a chance to kind of look back at my stuff and sit down, and quarantine really kind of paused everything for me, where I really got to like look at my work and see how far I've come in the last 2 years and really like appreciate certain things, but also strategize how to proceed and how to scale and how to grow from this point and in this economy. So that's that time I had off allowed me to really, I guess for the first time, acknowledge like the skill sets I actually have and how they can actually help people. Because like I know what I'm capable of doing, but I've just kind of been like, this is what I do. I kind of just, you know, I do what I'm doing. I stay in my lane. But I was like, you actually, like Ryan, you actually have the ability to help other people like more than you are, like even more. And that's how I came up with my program right now, which is doing pretty well, which is sick. It's called the KOA 100 Club, which is my small business branding program. And just basically to piggyback on what you said, like that is the expertise I'm providing for small businesses that don't necessarily have it. You know, there's a lot of people who start a company but don't know how to market, don't know how to brand, don't know how to do anything. They just love to make their skill, do what they do and create, and that's fine. And I know how to do everything else and then some. So I offer that service now to small businesses. I create a whole application form. They fill out what they do, why they started, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I go through them, all of them, and then kind of review their company and then offer them a position on the program where I basically will help them with their branding, their visuals each month, as well as a branding session to kind of show them how to use what we're doing. Instead of me just giving you photos and saying, here, I actually sit with you and say, okay, this is how we're gonna use it. This is why we're gonna use it. And I do that for every company.
Teaching to fish as opposed to giving fish, right?
Exactly.
I love it. And for me, you know, part of Business Takeout, a big part of it is not just speaking to successful business people and finding out what they do. And we do have to touch on your brand before we go to the personal part, but it's also finding out, you know, that other aspect, what matters to you, what drive, like on a personal level, not business connected. And you've put up some videos which really kind of show where your heart is on certain issues, and we'll get to that. But branding, before we go there, really, I mean, branding, when I looked at your site, because I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, he's not just a photographer. There's okay, oh boy. And then I realized, I said, you know what? He's a branding genius. That's what I came up with before I went to your IG and got the proper word. I was like, good, artist. Now I could write something. But I remember starting out and being told about branding, and it just kept going over my head. I did not understand what exactly it meant. You got all these complicated explanations and definitions, but I still was going over my head. And then what actually finally made it click for me was when somebody said, it's the voice in which you speak to your audience. It's consistent. Like Coca-Cola's always happy and cheery. You know, there's a voice in which you speak. There's a feeling that you give to your audience consistently, and they can look to you to get that feeling. Like if they ever want that feeling, they can go to you and be like, that's how they're going to feel. And when I saw your site, that is what I came up with. I'm like, this guy's a branding genius. I know he's not just a photographer, he's not just a videographer, but what I feel is a connection. And I would like you to pick 4 words to describe your brand. 4. You get 4.
4 words. Consistent. Second word would be transparent. Third word would be inspiring. And the fourth word would be deliberate.
I love that. Consistent. I think that's one of the most important things in business is consistency. We often are so excited. We start off really strong, really hard, and then peter out. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times too, people base their business model on their feelings, how they feel at the moment. Yeah. I'm in a good mood, I could do lots. I'm not in a good mood, I'm not bothering today. And that really affects their brand and the delivery of that. What would you consider that to be like one of the biggest problems business face, or is there something else you see that consistently your clients that's where they're falling short?
I definitely would say consistency is up there, but I think what I would say is more than that actually I also preach to my clients and friends as well, is that just the constant comparison, right? Like we're in such a consumable world and society where you're like, okay, look at my business, and okay, I want to be like this one, and I want to be like that one, or this one's doing well, or you have an idea and you don't put it out and someone else puts it out and now you're discouraged. Like it's just a constant comparison to external factors that actually don't matter, because whether someone else does something, like I'm honestly a prime example of that, because the videography industry is extremely saturated, like disgustingly saturated. And I remember when I quit my job, my grandpa and my dad was like, oh, there's a lot of photographers out there. I'm just like, and I wasn't hearing nothing. I was like, yeah, I know, cool. Because that doesn't concern me. Like, I don't care who's in the space. I don't care who's already been in the space, who's coming in the space. You run your race, how you run, and you pace yourself at your pace, because in conjunction with consistency, whoever has already been there, if they're not consistent, you'll pass them if you stay consistent. And whoever is about to come, if you consistently keep going, they may quit before you stop. Like, so you comparing yourself to anyone at any level is completely irrelevant, because
I love that.
Sorry?
I said I love that. That is such a good analogy, that somebody else could start after you and quit before you.
It doesn't, right?
It doesn't and even big brands. I mean, we've watched huge brands crumble and fall,
disappear.
They just poof overnight. They disappear.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't actually matter. And I think, and I've been like that my whole career, life, basketball especially, because that's where all this comes from. My first love, basketball. Like, I've just translated this athlete mentality into my business. When I walk in a gym, I'm sorry?
I said, is that where the competitive asshole gene comes from?
Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%.
That is a quote, by the way, audience. I'm quoting him. He says he has the competitive asshole gene. That wasn't me just calling him.
No.
It's a quote.
100%. Because when I walk in the gym, when I walk anywhere, and I'm playing a basketball game, I don't care if you're Michael Jordan. I know Michael Jordan is statistically better than me. 100%. I know that. He's one of the greatest in the world. He could be 75 and still be amazing. But what I do also know is at any given day, people make mistakes. So if I happen to get on the one good day where Michael Jordan slips on the pavement and I hit a 3-pointer, I beat him. Hey, like
I beat him.
I don't care. I don't care what happened. That's not my business. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I just have to perform and come ready to play and ready to perform every single time, because
Amen.
I'm banking on myself. I'm not banking on someone else performing. Right.
That is such a good I know that reading your bio and listening to some other interviews with you, it kind of seems to me like once you beat your dad, that was it. You could beat anybody in your mind. Like
mentally.
Was the goal. And once you did that, that was it. And that brings me into the last part. Again, I probably will reshare, but 2 amazing videos that you have on your YouTube addressing recent racial tensions, issues, murders. But also too, the first video I saw from you was a little mini documentary about mentorship, really about, and then listening to your backstory and reading some of your backstory, it shows how huge of an impact your father had on you, what that meant to you. So would you say that he was your mentor, or is there someone else that you really modeled yourself after, or was it more inspiration?
I'd say it goes one step above him to my grandfather. So my grandfather, I call him Papa. If I was to say anyone's my hero or my mentor, I would say it's Papa, my grandfather. As close as I am to my dad, and as amazing as he's been, growing up, we have our differences as well. But Papa has been, we'll use the word again, the most consistent. And he moved here from Jamaica with $1,000 to his name, and he started the family. Had my dad and my aunts, got married, had built a house, started his own painting business, which was the first time I've ever seen someone firsthand have their own business, right? Like I've never, as a kid, never really experienced anyone that I know personally that had their own business, and it was called Campbell's Painting Service, which is his last name. So seeing that, I was like, yo, like this is his. Like he does what he wants. He goes out if he feels like painting. Doesn't paint. He'll send people out. That was the first time I ever seen anyone have something that they literally built from nothing, right? And to this day, both my parents, they still work for people, so I haven't seen that in them. As much as I love them both, they do different things, but they have never fully had a business that they have created, and so I am the second in line to do that next to my grandfather, right? And like we've had some amazing conversations, and he's just been consistent. He's been the exact same guy every time, the same positivity, the same motivation, the same advice, same wisdom, like never chose sides, never been against me, never fought. Like it's, so it's kind of interesting, especially now. We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago where he called me and he just wanted to say, he wanted to apologize for not believing in me when I told him I was quitting. So he, when I first told him I was quitting 2 years ago, he thought I was crazy. He's like, "You're gonna quit your good job, salary and benefits and this, that," old Jamaicans, right? And I was like, "Yeah, Papa, I think I'm gonna do it. Like I'm gonna do it." He's like, all right, well, like, and he was very doubtful, which understandably, I'm telling him to quit my job to go travel with a camera. Like, sounds crazy, but he's seen what I've done in the last 2 years, and he really like he called me. He's like, "Listen, I just want to tell you I'm sorry for not believing in you, because you've outdone yourself, and I'm proud of you, and I'm sorry for not believing you when you first did it, but I'll be the first person to tell you I didn't believe in you, but I believe in you now." And I was like, I appreciate that. I do, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot for someone to even admit that, And that's, again,
Well,
that's,
it takes a lot for us. It takes a lot for us to admit things, and imagine an old school Jamaican man. Like, whoa.
Exactly.
So that's big, big.
Exactly.
You know, those who are not from our culture, that's huge, big, 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 huge, huge, bigger than you'd ever believe.
The pride's too strong for him to ever say anything.
Yep. But I mean, I think the love of you and the pride in what you're doing overrides all of that. So that's the part that I wanted to bring in. And, you know, you speaking about the KOA 100, and I was going to bring up the KOA pros, but it's obvious why you need them, because you're only one person, and maintaining that level of quality is, you know, again, consistency, right? You don't want to ever put out anything that does not meet your standards. But then I guess, you know, you answered my last question in the middle, where I was going to ask you, you know, what mentorship has meant for you, which you just answered, and then how did you pay that forward? And the answer is obviously the KOA 100. Right. So giving back and teaching, and like he said, like Ryan said, it's more about teaching someone to fish than saying, here's a fish, you know. And a lot of people, I think one of the reasons they like to give fish is because they like to say they did.
Yeah.
And they like to remind you they gave you a fish. And that fear of you fishing better than them is also there. So I think that's why some of our industry leaders don't share as you are so willing to, because they have a fear of being, you know, of being usurped. But I just really, I mean, I was so amazed by everything that you had put forth, just the what I could find online. And then speaking to you has been such a delight. And you obviously have so much to share with young entrepreneurs, old entrepreneurs, want to be entrepreneurs. And I thank you for taking this time to share with us.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it.
I thank you for being honest and transparent. Well, you've taught me a lot. I hope that's happened for the audience too, where you might want to step back and reevaluate your business and how you conduct it. Because from what Ryan has said to us today, it isn't about so much what he does. It's all about how he does it. And quite honestly, if you have an okay service that you deliver with enthusiasm and 100% of yourself, the person who is top notch at it but gives you a hard time, isn't personable, all of those things is not going to see the business that you know, that other personable person was. So if that's the takeaway, I think that's it. Am I right?
Definitely be likable. Be likable.
Be likable. Don't just be the professional. Don't just be the best, because a lot of people get off on that. Be a person. Connect.
Yes.
Completely. Ryan, thank you so much. I'm sorry I did pull you over your time, but you're so interesting.
No, I'm good. I'm cool with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you will be getting an email from me. I know when I checked out KOA 100, I heard it was all full, but I'll put my application in anyways. Hopefully I could get on that waiting list. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your information. And don't be surprised when I reach back out for that second interview, because it's really been a pleasure having you. Thank you, Ryan.
I'm here whenever you guys are ready. No problem. No problem.
Perfect. Thank you. And for everybody out there, oh, wait, before we go, I almost forgot the most important thing. How do they reach you, Ryan? 5
letters, MR.KOA.com. That actually branches out to everything. I do my podcast, my channel, shop, my store, MR.KOA.com. It's literally my hub for everything I do. So yeah, there 5 letters. Go.
5 letters. And there's so much in there. So until we meet again, and I don't know what's going to happen with COVID, but I do hope to meet you in person one day soon. But until then, we will connect online. And for all of you out there, MR.KOA, MR.KOA.com. You will find him online. for those who are looking for some inspiration, check out the site, review this post, and join us again next week on Business Takeout here on the Erica Edwards Show. Yes, I had some technical difficulties, but we truck on. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. See you guys.
Bye.